Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I will be discussing part 2 of 4 of coaster tournaments. What's the best steel coaster in the world? If you haven't watched part 1 yet, or the intro, go watch that. That's on a playlist titled Coaster Tournaments on my channel. But if you have, then you're ready for this. So last week, or not last week, yesterday, last video, we finished part 1. This was half of round 1. We had 4 head-to-head matchups. I still left the 4 coasters that were disqualified on here just because we're still in round 1. When we get to round 2, you're going to see a totally different title page, and it's going to look really cool. So, yeah, that's going to be kind of cool. But today we will be having the last 4 head-to-head matchups in round 2, and there could be some major upsets here. And this is going to be a very interesting coaster tournament because Golden Ticket doesn't rank their things very well. So with that being said, I'm going to take a look at our bracket real quick before going into the head-to-head matchups. So last week, Fury 325 defeated Nemesis and moved on to round 2. Apollo's Chariot defeated Leviathan and moved on to Leviathan defeated Apollo's Chariot and moved on to round 2, facing Fury 325. Expedition G-Force lost to Phantom's Revenge, and Phantom's Revenge moved on to round 2. And Maverick defeated Superman the Ride to face Phantom's Revenge in the second round. As you can see, last time had a lot of upsets there. A lot. So now, today, our first matchup will be Millennium Force versus Mako. Millennium Force is the 2 seed, Mako is the 15 seed. And then Iron Rattler versus Nitro. Iron Rattler is the 7 seed. Nitro is the 10 seed. And then Twisted Colossus, the 6 seed, versus Intimidator 305, the 11 seed. And Steel Vengeance versus Diamondback. Steel Vengeance is the 3 seed. Diamondback is the 14 seed. So those are going to be our 4 head-to-head matchups. So let's see who comes out on top. So in our first head-to-head matchup, we have Millennium Force versus Mako. These are 2 outstanding coasters. These are not top 15, but they're top 25 for sure. Millennium Force is an Intamin Giga Coaster by Intamin, and Mako is a B&M Hyper. Millennium Force is located at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, while Mako is located at SeaWorld Orlando in Orlando, Florida. 2 great coasters, and they differ from each other very much. Mako is very based about airtime, while Millennium Force is based around bank turns. So, this is going to be very interesting to see which one comes out on top. Will Mako, the 15 seed, get the upset, or will the 2 seed Millennium Force win? We'll see. So, our first category, let me explain the categories real quick. There are 10 categories plus 1 extra if necessary. There's duration, speed, height, smoothness, airtime, drop, pacing, intensity, inversions, and the view that you get from the top. And if there is a tie, then we use the theming category to determine the winner. So, with that being said, let's get into this matchup. In terms of duration, Millennium Force has a final duration of 1 minute and 13 seconds, while Mako has a final duration of 1 minute and 10 seconds. So Millennium Force will be getting the first point. In terms of speed, Millennium Force goes 93 miles per hour, and Mako goes only 73 miles per hour. Millennium Force will be getting their second point. Millennium Force starting to pull away here. In terms of height, Millennium Force is 310 feet tall, and Mako is 200 feet tall. So Millennium Force will be getting another point. So right now, Millennium Force is starting to break away and has a 3-0 lead on Mako. But will that change? In terms of smoothness, Mako is a new B&M, and B&M is a very smooth company. Millennium Force is an older Intamin that's almost 20 years old, I think. And even though it's very smooth, it does have a small section where it has a rattle. So I will be giving Mako its first point. 3-1. Can Mako make a comeback here and upset Millennium Force? 15 seed versus 2 seed. So now, in terms of airtime, Millennium Force only has like 1 or 2 airtime moments, while Mako has a bunch of airtime moments. So I'll be giving the point to Mako. Mako starting to make a little comeback here, 3-2 Millennium Force though. In terms of drop, both of these drops are fantastic, but I will be giving it to Millennium Force because it's just bigger and longer. So Millennium Force will be getting another point. 4-2 Millennium Force. In terms of pacing, Millennium Force doesn't stop the whole way through, while Mako does have a mid-course brake run and is a little slow towards the end. So I will be giving Millennium Force the point. 5-2 Millennium Force, really starting to break away here. Mako really needs a point here. So now in terms of intensity, Millennium Force pulls 4.5 Gs. While I could not find the exact G-force on Mako, I can assume that Millennium Force is a lot higher just because Mako doesn't look to be that too intensive a ride. So Millennium Force will be getting another point. 6-2 Millennium Force. In terms of inversions, there aren't any on either of these coasters, so I will not be giving a point for that category. In terms of view, the view that you get from the top, both of these rides have fantastic views. Mako, you get a good view of the lake and the rest of the park. Not really a lake, just like a little body of water. And Millennium Force, you get a great view of Lake Erie. So for that, I will be giving Millennium Force the point. 7-2 Millennium Force here. In terms of theming, Millennium Force has no theming whatsoever, but Mako is themed to sharks and has a little plaza built around it that's kind of cool. So I will be giving Mako the point. And now, as you can see, the final score is 7-3 Millennium Force and destroyed Mako. So Millennium Force is our winner. So now let's get into our next matchup. So in our next matchup, we have Iron Rattler versus Nitro. Iron Rattler is the 7 seed, while Nitro is the 10 seed. So now, Iron Rattler is an RMC hybrid conversion of the Texas Rattler, and it is located at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, it's around San Antonio. I'm not exactly sure the exact town, but it's around San Antonio. And Nitro is a B&M Hyper at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. Neither of these rides deserve to be top 15. Iron Rattler's top 25, and Nitro's top 50, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. My point system could differ that answer and could produce an upset or something like that. This is going to be a very interesting matchup because these rides are nothing alike. So let's get into it. So now, in terms of duration, Iron Rattler has a final duration of 45 seconds, while Nitro has a duration of 1 minute and 15 seconds, so Nitro will be getting the point. In terms of speed, Iron Rattler goes 70 miles per hour, while Nitro goes 80 miles per hour. Nitro will be getting their second point. 2-0 Nitro. In terms of height, Iron Rattler is 179 feet tall, while Nitro is 230, so Nitro will be getting a point. 3-0 Nitro, really starting to break away here. In terms of smoothness, Iron Rattler is an RMC hybrid and is very smooth, while Nitro has developed a rattle in the last couple of years. It is still very smooth and it's still really enjoyable and it doesn't affect the ride, but for this reason, I will be giving the point to Iron Rattler. Iron Rattler with their first point can make a comeback here and defeat Nitro. Who knows? In terms of airtime, Iron Rattler doesn't have great airtime. It's more focused on bank turns, while Nitro has some fantastic airtime. So I will be giving the point to Nitro. 4-1 Nitro. Iron Rattler really needs a point here. In terms of drop, Both of these drops are fantastic. Nitro just has a straight, not vertical, but has a straight drop, while Iron Rattler's drop twists you to the right and then whips you to the left. For this reason, I will be giving the point to Iron Rattler. 4-2. Iron Rattler could start making a comeback here. Needs the next point, though. In terms of pacing, Nitro has a mid-course brake run that slows down the second half, but Iron Rattler does have pacing issues. When it gets to the top of the quarry wall for the second time, it's very slow going through those bank turns. So for this reason, I will have to give the point to Nitro. 5-2 Nitro. Iron Rattler really needs a point here. So now in terms of intensity, Iron Rattler pulls 3.6 Gs, while Nitro pulls 4.3 Gs. So I will be giving this to Nitro. I can assume Nitro does this at that helix. It is very intense and a very good element on this ride. So now Iron Rattler really needs the next point here. So now in terms of inversions, Nitro doesn't have an inversion, while Iron Rattler does. So Iron Rattler will be getting a point. And now in terms of view, Nitro, you get a good view of a lake, but not a great view. And Iron Rattler, you get a fantastic view of the quarry wall and the rest of the park. So for this reason, I will be giving the point to Iron Rattler. And the final score is 6-4 Nitro. And has pulled an upset. Nitro is the 10 seed and Iron Rattler was the 7 seed. So it has pulled a major upset and defeated Iron Rattler to move on to the second round and face Millennium Force. So now let's get into our next matchup. So in our next matchup, we have Twisted Colossus, the 6 seed, versus the 11 seed, Intimidator 305. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. Twisted Colossus is a Mobius loop dueling RMC hybrid conversion of Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, while Intimidator 305 is an Intamin Giga Coaster, most notably claimed the most intense coaster in the world. Well, not the most intense in America, because Tower Terror in Africa is really intense. So, it's located in Doswell, Virginia. So, great rides. I haven't actually ridden Twisted Colossus. I've only heard of how good it is, but I've ridden Intimidator 305, and it is a fantastic ride, and it's in my top 3. Can't really decide which 1, 2, or 3 in my top 3. I'll have a video coming out with my top 10 or 25 or something like that, so stay tuned for that. But now let's get back to this matchup. In terms of duration, Twisted Colossus is 1 minute and 30 seconds, which makes sense because it is a dueling RMC and it has 2 sides. And Intimidator 305 is 45 seconds long. So, I will be giving the point to Twisted Colossus. Twisted Colossus off to an early lead here. In terms of speed, Twisted Colossus goes 57 miles per hour, while Intimidator 305 goes 90 miles per hour. So I will be giving the point to Intimidator 305. And now, in terms of height, Twisted Colossus has a height of 121 feet, while Intimidator 305 has a final height of 305 feet. So I will be giving the point to Intimidator 305. 2-1 Intimidator 305. In terms of smoothness, Intimidator 305 has one small little rough patch, while Twisted Colossus is very smooth, so I'll be giving the point to Twisted Colossus. 2-2. Tied up here. In terms of airtime, Intimidator 305 doesn't provide much airtime, only a few moments, while Twisted Colossus has some great airtime throughout the ride, so I'll be giving the point to Twisted Colossus. 3-2 Twisted Colossus. Intimidator 305 really needs to start its engines up here. And now, in terms of drop, Both these rides have fantastic drops, but I will be giving it to Intimidator 305 because it is longer and steeper. So Intimidator 305 will be getting the point. 3-3 here. In terms of pacing, Twisted Colossus slows down just a little bit towards the end, and Intimidator 305 hauls through the entire ride. So I will be giving a point to Intimidator 305. 4-3 Intimidator 305 here. In terms of intensity, Twisted Colossus has 3.2 Gs, while Intimidator 305 has 4.5 Gs, so the point will be going to Intimidator 305. Now it looks like Twisted Colossus has to start up his engines. It has to win the next 2 battles to force a tiebreaker here. So now, the inversions category. In terms of inversions, Twisted Colossus has 2, while Intimidator 305 has none, so I'll be giving the point to Twisted Colossus. Can Twisted Colossus force a tiebreaker here, or will it not? We'll find out. In terms of view, both of these rides don't have spectacular views. Twisted Colossus gives you an okay view of the Scream and a couple other rides in front of it, while Intimidator 305, if you look to the right, you get a fantastic view of one of the worst coasters ever, Anaconda, and you get a good view of Racer. For that, I will be giving Intimidator 305 the point, and Intimidator 305 is our winner. 6-4 Intimidator 305, and it is won. So now let's get into our next matchup. In our next matchup, we have Steel Vengeance going up against Diamondback. Steel Vengeance is the 3 seed, while Diamondback is the 14 seed. So, Steel Vengeance is an RMC Hyper Hybrid coaster at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. While Diamondback is a B&M Hyper at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. These rides are about 4 hours apart. They are both fantastic. Steel Vengeance is probably the best coaster in the world, while Diamondback probably deserves top 25. So, this is going to be an interesting matchup just because Steel Vengeance is an RMC and Diamondback is a B&M. 2 very different rides. So, let's get into it. In our first category, we have duration. Steel Vengeance times out at 1 minute and 35 seconds, while Diamondback times out at 1 minute and 15 seconds. For this, I will be giving Steel Vengeance its first point. Off to an early lead here. And now, in terms of speed, Steel Vengeance goes 74 miles per hour, while Diamondback goes 80 miles per hour. So I will be giving Diamondback the point, and it is suddenly all tied up. In terms of height, Steel Vengeance is 205 feet tall, while Diamondback is 230 feet tall. So, I will be giving Diamondback a point. Diamondback starting to take a lead. Can Diamondback defeat Steel Vengeance? That would be a huge upset. But will it happen? And now, in terms of smoothness, Steel Vengeance is an RMC and is very smooth, recently built, while Diamondback is built by B&M. But for whatever reason, Kings Island's B&Ms have a little bit of a rattle. All of them have a rattle. Orion, Banshee, and Diamondback, they all have rattles. This is because of the soil in the ground. So, for this reason, Steel Vengeance will be getting the smoothness point. 2-2, Steel Vengeance tied it all back up. In terms of airtime, Steel Vengeance has the most airtime in the world, while Diamondback does provide some great airtime. I will have to give it to Steel Vengeance for having the greatest airtime in the world. 3-2 Steel Vengeance. Starting to take a little lead here. Can it break away? In terms of drop, both of these rides have fantastic drops. Steel Vengeance has a 90-degree drop, while Diamondback's is taller, but not as steep. But because of that 90-degree drop, I will be giving Steel Vengeance the point. 4-2 Steel Vengeance. Will it win the battle and move on to the second round, or will Diamondback defeat it? So now in terms of pacing, Diamondback has a mid-course brake run that really slows the ride down, while Steel Vengeance has a mid-course breaker in 2, but usually the trims are up, and even without them up, it hauls through the entire ride. It's a fantastic ride for pacing. So, for that reason, I will be giving Steel Vengeance their next point. 5-2 Steel Vengeance, really starting to break away here. Diamondback's gonna have to take a big comeback to take this back. So now, in terms of intensity, Diamondback has 4.2 Gs, while Steel Vengeance hasn't released the amount of G-force on it, but I could assume there's around 4 Gs on Steel Vengeance. So for this reason, I will be giving Diamondback the point, just because Diamondback has a helix and Steel Vengeance is mainly focused on airtime. So Diamondback will be getting the point. Can it get the next 2 points to force a tiebreaker? Let's find out. In terms of inversions, Diamondback has no inversions, while Steel Vengeance has 4 inversions, so Steel Vengeance will be getting a point. 6-3 Steel Vengeance. And in terms of the view that you get from the top, Diamondback, you get a good view of the woods, while Steel Vengeance, you get a fantastic view of Lake Erie. So, for that reason, Steel Vengeance will be getting the point. And as you can see, it is 7-3 Steel Vengeance, and Steel Vengeance has won this battle, and we'll move on to the second round. So now let's take a quick look at our bracket, and then we'll end out this video. So, as you can see, Millennium Force defeated Mako. Millennium Force was the 2 seed, Mako was 15 seed. Millennium Force moved on to the second round. Iron Rattler, the 7 seed, Nitro, the 10 seed, defeated Iron Rattler, the 7 seed, and moved on to the second round. The 6 seed, Twisted Colossus, lost to Intimidator 305, the 11 seed, and Intimidator 305 moved on to the second round. And Steel Vengeance, the 3 seed, defeated Diamondback, the 14 seed, and moved on to the second round. So now in the next coaster tournament, part 3, we will be having round 2. Fury 325, the 1 seed, will face the 9 seed Leviathan. The 12 seed Phantom's Revenge will face the 13 seed Maverick. The 2 seed Millennium Force will face the 10 seed Nitro. And the 11 seed Intimidator 305 will face the 3 seed Steel Vengeance. That is a very highly anticipated matchup. So, as you can see, we have finished this coaster tournament, and there were lots of upsets, and it was really good. So make sure to stay tuned for next week, where we will be dwindling it down to 4 coasters, and then I'll have the big finale. So stay tuned for part 3. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.